So for now, let's talk about the organization of skeletal muscle cells into a muscle, into an organ. On the picture, you see the cross-section of a muscle. And let's start from the smallest one to the bigger structure. So what I'm coloring in blue is going to be a muscle cell. And in muscles, we call them muscle fibers. These fibers are not like the collagen fibers or anything like that. They are the cells. What I color in orange, they are the microfibril filaments or microfibrils in biology, but in here in anatomy, they are called the myofibrils. Anything that relates to muscle, either it's myo or sarco. You will notice that. So the individual muscle fibers are covered by endomysium. These are the blue ones. The endomysium is a very thin connective tissue that covers it. What I'm coloring is the nuclei of the muscle cell, and we learned that they can contain more than one. So all of those muscle fibers are wrapped together by another connective tissue. It's a little bit thicker than the endomysium. It's called the Perimysium. The Perimysium is organizing the individual muscle fibers into bigger structures, and the bigger structures, so it's the perimysium, and the bigger structures are leading to fascicles. The fascicles are pretty much bundle of cell fibers. The red one in here is an artery. The blue one is going to be a vein that you can find in the muscle organ. And the yellow, let's call it, because yellow is universal color for nerves, so it contains nerves too. So the perimysium is bundles up muscle fibers, and they form the fascicles. Fascicles. These are the fascicles all around. And many fascicles are covered by tougher connective tissue, and it's called the epimysium. That's the outermost layer of the connective tissue that covers the muscle. The epimysium is going to be bundled up and forms a tendon, a cord-like structure that attaches the muscle to the bone, or when it forms a sheath structure, the aponeurosis. It's also a form of how the muscle can get attached to another structure, bone, or to another muscle. The connective tissue, what is the purpose of the connective tissue? It provides durability. It's a very tough tissue, and the muscle spans through bony structures, and the muscle would be destroyed. Also, it's compressed and can pass over joints easily. It's also space tissue, and it gives route to nerves and vessels. With the age, the myofibril amount in the muscle will decrease, and the connective tissue amount will increase in the muscle, as in an organ. And one more thing that we have to talk about, the muscles usually, the skeletal muscles cross over a joint. The origin of a muscle is usually the less movable part of the bone, and the insertion part of the muscle is the more movable, that moves, the muscle will move that bone. So it's origin and insertion. Here is, let's go get into the microscopic structure of the muscle fiber or the muscle cell. You see a muscle cell cross section, and in here it's only, you can see only one nucleus, but as we said, it's multi-nuclear, so it can contain more. So one of them is under a cell membrane. The cell membrane covers the cell, and I just use the light blue color for cell membrane. The cell membrane, as I said, it's not that easy because it's a muscle, so we use the sarco prefix that refers to muscle, so it's a sarcolemma, but this is actually the cell membrane. And the sarcolemma is covered by the endomysium, the very thin connective tissue. This is how they relate to each other. Inside of the muscle filament, we have the myofibrils. These are very thin protein structures. They are in the cytoplasm, but the cytoplasm is called also differently in the muscles. It's called the sarcoplasm. Inside of the sarcoplasm, besides the microfibrils, we have mitochondria, as well as we have the rough endoplasmatic reticulum, ribosomes, but we are not dealing with that at this moment. And we are not going to deal with that either later on in this anatomy class. The green lines across the muscle fiber will be important later on. And we see kind of bands, orange bands on the muscle. And we said that it has banded structures or striated structures. Well, here we are going to talk about why they have that structure. So the green parts are going to be called the Z line. This is a protein that the filaments, some of the filaments are attached to it. This is Z line 1, and the other side on the right side, this is Z line 2. The blue ones are going to represent the thin filaments, and the thin filaments are called the actin. It's a special name. It's a name for the protein that makes up the thin filaments, the actin. Now, they are attached to the Z line, and the orange ones are going to be, as you see, they are a little bit thicker, thicker than the blue lines, and they are the thick filaments instead of the thin filaments, and they have a special name also for them. They are the myosins. Myosin. They are made out of protein too. Now, the motion inside of the muscle, and we will talk about that they can contract only, the myosin heads are going to bind to the actin sites, and they may move a backslash. You will see that those arrows are not really good. So they move the actins towards the middle of the myosin. So the two Z lines will move closer towards each other. The distance between the two Z lines are called the sarcomere, and the sarcomeres are the units of the contractile units. So the myosins are sliding, the actins are sliding over the myosin, pulling the two Z lines closer together. The orange line represents the dark band, what we have covered on the cell, and the distance between the two blue lines, and you have the Z line in the middle, is called the light band. Well, I'm sorry that I didn't move the paper. So the dark band is what we covered above a little bit. And this is the end.